Hey guys, it's Matt Haycox here, and today you've got a very sweaty me and a not so sweaty interview guest with me. I'm here with Barabara Schett at Boodles in the Mere, which is when you guys hear me talking a lot about my annual networking events. This is the big event. You can see behind me. Well, you can't see behind me, but we've actually got for the first time a £3 million Bugatti supercar. It's actually so secret that it's undercover, and they don't even let me take it off. But the highlight of the week for me here is getting to play with these guys. So for anyone who doesn't know Barabara, she has been on, well, she's a retired Austrian tennis player. She was on the tour for 14 years, top 10 for what, 10 years?
No, not quite 10 years.
Say 10. She was top 10 for almost 10 years. Peaked at number 7 in 1999. She's played Fed Cup. She's represented Austria in the Sydney Olympics. And if any of you avid sports watchers now, you might see her presenting Eurosport. So thanks a lot for joining us, Barabara.
Thanks, Matt.
And we've just played a bit of mixed doubles as well. We can't tell if we won or we lost because
we had fun.
We had fun and it rained off. So we're taking that as a pause in the game. So, but listen, obviously I've given everyone a little bit of an introduction about you. Can you just flesh that out and set the scene? And
yeah, so I mean, you kind of said it all. I played professionally on the women's WTA Tour until I was 28. Then I decided to retire, which is actually nowadays very young because most of the girls and guys, they play in their mid-30s.
How old were you when you started?
I started on the tour when I was 16. So
you
I
turned pro at 16?
Yeah, turned pro when I was 16. I was already top 100, and then I turned pro. I didn't actually finish school because I was traveling so much. So
you'd never know.
I decided I don't miss it actually, not graduating. So so I've been traveling on the tour for a long time, and I loved it. But then at that point, when I was 28, I was just sick of traveling. I would still hit the ball well. The body was feeling good, but I just couldn't do it mentally anymore. And then my transition actually was going pretty smoothly. I'm a pretty organized person, so while I was playing in that last year, I already thought about what direction do I want to head. And I thought I want to definitely stick in tennis somehow, because that's what I know best. That's what I've done all my whole life, and I've met a lot of people, a lot of doors opened, and I knew I wanted to go into the TV side. I wanted to represent maybe companies, I wanted to be behind a microphone, work at the tournament behind the scenes as well. That's what I've done. So I'm with Eurosport now for the last 14 years.
14
years, yeah, exactly. So we started in a small group of 5 people, going to all the Grand Slam tournaments and interviewing players. We did a few interviews here and there, and now we're at the French Open we were 260 people, and we are just on all day pretty much.
And do you only do the Grand Slams, or do you do the Masters and other tournaments?
For Eurosport, I only do the Grand Slams because we have the rights for them. They're still trying to buy some rights on the ATP tour. I don't know how that's going at the moment.
They're going to have some competing with Amazon to do, aren't they?
Maybe, yeah, they want to. And then I still work for other few networks. There's one little one in Austria now. It's called Servus TV, which is part of Red Bull, the Red Bull company. So I'm going to work for them at the Austrian events, and then New Zealand.
Do you commentate in English?
I commented when I work for Eurosport. It's all in English, yeah. But obviously when I work in Austria, it's all in German. So I have lots of them. I work at the WTA event in Linz, for example, which is I'm the ambassador of the tournament. So I work behind the scenes. I help to organize the tournament as well, which is really interesting, having been a former player, because when you play, you only think about yourself, and you never think about the people, what effort they have to go through to put a tournament up. And also, like a journalist side, what questions do you ask? And now I know how that feels, as a player and as the other person, working for TV, for example, or at the tournament. So it's really interesting. And it's my second career is going quite smoothly, I have to say.
Fantastic. Well, listen, obviously I gave you a little background before we started this, but most of my audience are, let's say, in the business sector, whether they're small business owners or the budding entrepreneurs, or business students. And what I like to do is I like to interview people who are, let's say, experts in their field, which typically isn't business, but I like to talk about the comparables from different fields to business, and obviously sport is something that is got parallels to all aspects of business, all aspects of life. So I've got two key things I want to talk to you about today, and I think one of these is very important for most people's lives and careers, but for me, very selfishly, I want to understand sports psychology, because obviously we just
difficult one.
Well, we just played a little out there, and I was about to say I could knock up quite well, but you're probably going to think, what the fuck's he talking about, right? But no,
no, great.
When I warm up, I feel I can hit the ball clean, hit the shots, keep long rallies going. But then as soon as something's on the line, as soon as I move into a game, as soon as it's about points, or it's about money or ego or whatever it is, everything falls to pieces for me. And I guess friends of mine, or other pros, etc., always say to me, you've got to think of every point, like individually, and be like the warm up. Nothing's any different. It's the same ball, the same racket, hitting in the same place. But why does it go wrong? Was it ever a problem for you, and how did you correct it, or how do you advise other people?
Well, obviously it helps, when you practice a lot. You have to practice things over and over and over again, so they are kind of, they go automatic. You don't even have to think, and you do kind of the right thing then in the, like when you play points. I think that's important, that you just practice certain things over and over and over again, and you have to love playing points. There's a lot of people out there, as soon as there's a competition, they tighten, they freeze up, they start thinking, their mind is going crazy, and that's something you have to like. I always loved competition. I never liked practicing. I always wanted to compete with somebody, and then you have to stay in the moment. You have to think, okay, what am I going to do next? Where's that serve going to go? If you feel like you're a little unsure, then stick to your best shots, and tell yourself what to do better, the ball toss higher or something like that, and really stay in the moment. That's the most important thing. Not think of the score, not think of the sun, all the influences outside. Just stick to what you can do best, and talk positively to yourself. Don't swear on the tennis court. It's not helping.
I only did it twice or three times. I only hit my racket on the floor once.
Yeah.
but obviously it's a very common thing, where, for pros to try and teach, thinking of think of each point individually, and forget the last and forget the next. But how much is that easier said than done when it comes to something like when you're a match point down? And I was watching. I don't know how much of the tennis you get to watch that you don't commentate on. But it was only a few weeks ago I was watching the Madrid game, the Madrid Open, and it was Federer against Monfils. I don't know if you saw that game.
I didn't know.
It was the third set, and Federer was, he ended up being 2 match points down, I think. But the way he played, those points was never mind was as good as any other point. It almost seemed like he, in the most pressureful moment, he'd gone up another level,
gone for it.
and just completely kills it, goes into the tie break and wins 7-1 or 7-2. How? Is he really there just thinking this is just another point?
No, well, he's very aware of what the score is, but I think he's confident, obviously, and he has certain patterns. For example, Roger Federer, when he's down a break point or something like that, he's super aggressive always. He would have probably played serve and volley. I don't know if it was on his serve, and he believes in himself, and that's important. You can't have any doubt. Coming up in your, but that's in life in general, isn't it? If you're convinced about something, then you have to do it, and not have any doubts when you go and face break points, for example. And he would have lost matches like that as well. It doesn't work out every time. Tennis it's such a fine line at the very top when you play against each other that. You can't always win. It's one of the sports where you cannot always come off the court as a winner, and you learn from your losses as well. It's like when you're out there and you just go back and think, okay, what happened there? And if it's just a technical thing, or it might not just be mental, it might, you just have to, work on your footwork, or you just rule out all these things. But then up here, it's the hardest part. But you just have to also always stay positive and believe in yourself. I think that's really, really important.
Tell me, when you obviously you just said, and you learn from your losses as well.
Yeah.
One thing I always talk about in business is that I think you only ever really learn from your losses and failures as opposed to the things that go right. Yeah. Because if it goes right, well, it's gone right, but it's almost like why did it go right? You kind of never really get to analyse it. But I mean, do you think in tennis or in sport, when things go right, you get to analyse as well what went right, or do you think you learn more from the things that go wrong?
I think you learn a lot from the things which go wrong. That makes you a person in life and in sport and in anything. And I mean, in tennis, it's very common that you you watch your matches again. I do that now. Like when I host a show, for Eurosport, I watch them afterwards, and I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking, oh, what could I do better and stuff like that. You always have to work on yourself. I don't think it matters how successful you are in tennis, for example. Rafa Nadal, Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, they've achieved so much, but they always keep on working on themselves, and they always try, even if it's just a 1%, a 0.5% to be better, they try to get that out of them. And then I think that's how everybody should approach life, and not just business-wise, but also as a human being. I think people can always improve as a person as well.
It's interesting you say that about that you watch back the shows that you commentate on, and I wasn't planning on talking about this, but you've made me think. I think it's quite important for the guys at home as well, because again, one of the big things I talk about, and obviously what we're doing now is creating content that goes out there on socially, on YouTube, Facebook, etc. And this is becoming so important in like I say, in business, but in any aspect of promoting yourself as an individual, as a brand, as an entrepreneur, whatever it may be. And I when I first started recording this stuff, like most people, I hate my voice, I hate myself.
It's hard to get used to it.
I hate myself on camera. And I tell you, for the first 10 or 15 things I did, we'd film, they'd get edited, they'd get sent to me. I'd watch I'd start. I think I've got to watch it, right? So I watch 10 seconds. I think, oh fuck, I can't watch. And
swore again.
and I just put it out there online, and I forget who it was, but I was reading. I was reading or watching an interview with some big movie star, and he was talking about when he did his premieres or when he watches his stuff, and someone was asking how do you feel about watching yourself, and he was saying, well, I have to watch myself, because if I can't watch myself, and if I don't like watching me, then why the hell should anyone else pay to want to like watching me? And I think, whilst it's not exactly parallel to my to what my problem, it did make me start to think, and I think that you're probably not as bad as you think you are. You've got to go back and watch. You've got to find ways to improve. And I guess the fact that the 15 videos I put out there, that even though I hadn't watched them, I wasn't getting too many negative comments, too many of my friends taking the piss out of me. Gave me a bit of impetus to do it. But I think it's a very interesting parallel.
And it's normal. I think that you're always your biggest critic, on yourself, the harshest on yourself. So I think it's also important to accept feedback from people, maybe not from everyone, but some people you ask, just give me your honest feedback. I think as a tennis player, you've got to have the right people to give. Yes, totally. No
point say, hey mom, can you give me some honest feedback?
No. You've got to have one or two people, it's just constructive feedback, please. I love that, for example, because as a tennis player, there's always something wrong in your game. You always have to work on that forehand, technically this and that. That it's never perfect. So I think I've learned, and a lot of tennis players have learned that to deal with that, and they always want feedback. And I tell my people now who I work with, give me feedback. It's fine if you tell me it's bad or something. I can take that, but that's how I improve, and that's how I get better. You don't take it too much in your heart. You just try to get better, and I think it's constantly working on yourself somehow.
So obviously, we talked earlier about your transition from playing tennis to being in front of the camera, commentating and presenting sport now. And obviously, you're as successful in your second career as you were in your first. I think one thing that's always very interesting to me, and I guess annoying to watch people waste opportunity. Whether this is in sport or in celebrity or whatever in general, is people's inability to, let's say, take ego out of it. And I feel there's always going to be people at the very top of the game who make enough money, have enough success, etc. That it doesn't matter what they move into.
That's right.
Because they don't need to. But realistically, no matter how much platform and fame either people may think they have or the public may think other people have, the reality is these people haven't got I guess enough money and enough stability to last forever. And but do they have the honesty, the lack of ego, and the foresight to move from what they have been doing and make that change, which either may be a sidestep or may even be a step backwards, but before you can go forwards. I mean, how would you say that had played out for you, and how do you see it? Give me some. You don't have to name names, but maybe give me some examples of people who can do it well, people who've done it badly, and what your advice would be to sportsmen out there, sportsmen and women, not just in tennis but in anything, where their careers are coming to an end and they're probably 30, 35, still got 20, 30 years of work ahead of them. How do they make that step?
Well, I was very lucky because my parents, for example, very down to earth. They're both bankers. So when I was young, they already they always kept me on the ground. I was always Barabara for them, even though when I was very successful, and they always told me think ahead, because that career will be over at some stage. And first of all, with investments as well, just think about when you're 60 years old and stuff like that, very conservatively, but they just always prepared me for that as well. And I even in a young age, in my 20s, I knew, okay, this is my first career, my first chapter in life, basically, this as a tennis player, and it'll be gone at some stage, and you have to let go at some stage, and you don't define yourself as a person just because you've been a good tennis player, because at the end of the day, you're just a sportsman, you entertain the people, you're not saving lives, and I always viewed myself as that. So I think that I've always kind of stayed the same. It didn't matter if I was top 10 or not. For me it was always important to be a good person, I guess. And I can see that with a lot of players, former players, colleagues of mine, who had problems with the transition to another life because they're not playing on center courts which have 5,000-10,000 people there clapping for them. That's just gone. And they kind of try to hang on somehow, and play exhibitions, and they're maybe in their 60s, and they still wanna be that person they used to be, and that's just not happening. And then there's a lot of players who had no problems moving on. And
I was going to say, and by then it's probably too late for them to actually make a change.
You just have to know that this is a certain time in your life where you do this, and then you have to move on. And that's what I've done, and I loved my career, and now I'm so happy in my second career because it's very fulfilling to me. I still have that adrenaline kick, when I go live on air for our show for Eurosport, and it gives me a lot, and I know there will be a time where somebody else will come in and take over. I might be too old, or might be somebody else, another player who's been more successful taking over, and that's fine. I'm going to give 100% in what I do now, and then when that's over, another door will open, I'm sure. And you have you meet so many people as a tennis player, and one thing which is a good advice, I think, is that saying you always meet twice in life. So you meet, like as a tennis player, I met so many people, and you sometimes think, I have to meet another person, this and that. But always be aware of who you meet, because you will meet again, and then it could be very important meeting.
But as one of the things I talk about, both on camera and such an important part of my life, both A, to do and B, that I enjoy, is networking. networking and taking advantage of all those opportunities. And and you guys as sports people, I guess have that fortunate, privileged platform that that because you're celebrities or because people look up to you, you've got instant credibility and your foot through the door, to be able to take advantage of so many more networking opportunities, or so much easier than let's a non-celebrity person may be able to do. I mean, take these 3 days here. We've got 1,500 successful, wealthy business people, celebrities, etc. Where I guess the networking and the power in this room can do deals for people for years and lifetimes to come. I think and it's important what you've just said about you meet people twice and enjoying meeting people and networking on what's going to come around the corner, because again you see far too many people in let's say the privileged position that could be taking advantage of that privileged position, that use it in the complete opposite. It's like, I'm the big shot, I can't be bothered talking to anyone, I don't want this, and then when your star wanes, when your credibility wanes, and and you're just a has-been, and then the people don't want to talk to you, you either can't create the opportunities that you could have done years earlier, or it's just so much more difficult to do.
Yeah, that's right, I totally agree. But in general, I think it's in any level. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. I think networking is important. It's just respecting people. I mean, you respect the person who built the courts the same as a businessman, and so I think that's really important, because not everybody has the same chances in life.
So you've had two long and successful careers, and you're barely days older than me.
How old are you?
What does the future hold? What's career number 3?
Career number 3, I'm not sure. I know that I'm going to be very busy for the next 3 to 5 years with my contract.
Are you you've got
I've got a long-term contract with Eurosport, and I'm representing a few companies, and I've got lots of my how do you say in English? My hands in a lot of different
fingers in lots of pies.
Yes, fingers in a lot of different pies, exactly. So I'd still want to be involved in tennis somehow. I love traveling. I travel a fair bit, and then obviously I have a family as well. I have a little son. He's 10 years old. I want to be there for him as well, just to find that balance, of work and being at home. But I'm quite driven. A driven person. I don't want to sit at home and do nothing. So one thing I think is really important, and that I take that from my tennis career, is goal setting. I always set goals, like long-term goals and short-term goals, which I think is very important to do. And so I hope that I'll make it happen. That the next 10 years are going to be as exciting as the last 20 were, or 30. Yeah.
I'm sure they will be. Listen, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Matt.
You're so far away I can't kiss you, but I'm going to give you a high five.
Because we're good at that.
Like we were doing on court.
Let's get back out there.
Let's go. I've got to get a shower so we can enjoy the rest of today. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Like I say, like on any of my YouTube videos, if you like them, comment below, tell me some questions that you'd like me to ask future guests, and press subscribe. So many of you send me positive comments, but you still don't subscribe. So YouTube, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.